I always loved architecture and graphic design. And I did a little bit of like website development for people and stuff like that. After Hate You Love You kind of popped off crazy, I had to like assemble a team really quickly. So I literally hired my agent and my lawyer the same day, and but I knew what to do. It wasn't like I was just like, whoa. I've thought about shaving my head a lot lately, and I think the only thing that's stopping me from doing that is the logo that I have on the back of the shirt.
Yeah.
Years more recent, it's definitely like shown its face more than ever, just because of all the pressure that I feel like I have on me. So I try not to think about the pressure, and I kind of just try to think about like the positives that come from the pressure. And I try to put myself a couple months down the line. So like if I'm ever stressed about anything, I always just try and put myself in the future and say like, wow, like everything worked out fine. Like I'm so glad it did. I'm so glad I made the right decision. I would say just like getting over the idea of pressure was a lot for me out the gate. Just like, oh man, like I have all this pressure on me. I always get overwhelmed by that.
Hi, today I'm here with Nash.
What's good?
So you were born in LA, right?
Yep. Yeah, born and raised.
And when you were really young, you already learned like English really quickly, right? Like when you were reading like grades in front of you books.
Yeah, that's very true. I was, yeah. I always placed in like whatever the highest potential reading level was.
Yeah.
So like in kindergarten, I was a 5th grade reader, and then in 6th grade, I was a 12th grade reader.
Damn.
And it's because my mom was in the film business when I was a kid. She made like documentaries and TV movies and stuff like that, super like positive stuff, and so she would read the scripts to me as bedtime stories.
Oh, wow.
Because she'd have to read like 3 or 4 a day.
Yeah.
So I think that I just picked up language really quickly from that.
And you were obsessed with like just writing from the onset, right?
Yeah, I've always been a bit of a writer. I'm like creative writing more so just in high school and stuff. I'd always begrudge it like any kid normally would for essays and stuff like that, but then like when it came down to it, night before, I would write these really great essays, and my mom would just be like, these are really great, and she would edit them. She was really good at editing and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So that was helpful in my development for it, and my dad's also a public speaker for his profession, so I think it kind of just was super comfortable for me to project and kind of present things.
Did teachers also like catch on from it at a young age that you were like more excelled than like other kids with like English?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I always kind of like school for me was always kind of weird because I was always wanting to do creative stuff, and I was always kind of like, why did Einstein have to go to school? Like, and my parents were like, well, honey, like that's like he's like a legitimate genius. You just like think you are. But yeah, so I always kind of had a quick pickup for it. But I've always kind of just looked at school like part of my work schedule, I guess. When I was in high school, and then especially in college, I would just kind of treat my school schedule kind of like it was a job.
Right.
So I don't know what teachers really thought of me. But.
Yeah. And you're already like kind of like outgoing at a young age, and your mom said you were kind of like a mayor of like the neighborhood talking to everyone. Yeah.
We moved into the house that my family lived in, and when I was 5, and I immediately was like the mayor of the block, and I would go and like say hi to people when they moved in, and we had like a 4th of July block party, and I like would MC it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's always been like that. Like when I was a really little dude, there's pictures of me at my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, and I was doing, I was in a little man tux, and I had a mic, and I like prepared songs to perform and dance routines with my uncle and all that different stuff. So I've always been one for the show. Yeah. Even though it wasn't always necessarily like singing, and I think that's how I graduated to the DJ stuff, and then. Just because I loved being in front of people. But I realized with that one I didn't have to like talk very much, which was nice, and I think people actually liked that in the long run because I was just playing good stuff and not talking too much. And then I started making my own stuff. Yeah.
Would you say that your mom's like film career made you more of like a visual person, especially in your like music videos, tour recaps, stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I've always just had an eye for like things I like and things I don't like and the way things are cut. I think anybody that like kind of like is at the helm of their own ship, how I am, needs to be able to kind of have an opinion on how they want everything to go, because that's how you stay consistent with things. And I have a lot of great people around me, not a lot, but a couple really great people around me who help me make those decisions too. So.
And your dad being a public speaker, like what did he speak for?
Oh, he basically would like educate people on how to sell this very wonderful and specific kind of insurance called long-term care insurance that like basically brings nurses into your home for you when you get older.
Oh,
yeah, it's like a really
okay.
positive thing, and,
Yeah.
and he would share like his own stories of how like he had to care for his dad and stuff like that. So I think it was like very emotional public speaking. It wasn't just like general kind of stuff, and so yeah.
Were you always close to him from the onset?
Yeah, I'd say so.
But you have a pretty big gap with your dad, like the age.
Yeah.
Was that ever like a barrier?
No, I don't think so. I think it was cool because my dad is, never actually thought about how much older he is than me, like in number wise, but he's definitely an older dude. And, it's cool because I think he's lived so much that he has like so much experience to share with me. I think that's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
So like he always kind of was just able to be like, well, here's all the things I've done and gone through, and like take what you will. And I think I took like the best I could from it and did my own life.
Yeah. He had kind of like an unstable like upbringing, right? Like his family situation.
Yeah, my dad didn't grow up in the most positive of situations, but I think that's kind of the beauty of generations, is that you can shift that if you so choose to.
Yeah.
So like with my family, eventually I want to be, you know, my dad was wonderful and I just want to be even more wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And he always, like, from the onset told you about, like, talking about your feelings. Was that something that clicked to you super early on?
Yeah, I think like, we always had a super open, communicative household. So my dad was always like, you know, however you're feeling, just, like, let me know. Don't get upset about it or whatever. And I think that worked out great because I kind of just flowed into me being able to be so comfortable talking about how I feel with my music.
How do you describe yourself back then, like, teenage years?
I'd say, like, really just, like, insecure, but like confident that eventually I was gonna do something cool, just not right then.
Right.
So like I would always like table like, oh, I don't really like do parties and stuff like that because I want to like focus on what I do, but I wasn't really doing anything yet. So there was kind of this like false facade, but I always knew in my head that I needed to like create space and time to be able to do what I love, which was be creative and make stuff. I just didn't do it yet at that time.
Yeah. But do you say the insecurities stem from just being like creative and like different from other people? Or?
Yeah, 100%. I had a couple friends who understood it, but for the most part, I mean, I love my friends from school and everything, but most of them have ended up in like finance and things like that, which is awesome for them, but like just not my vibe. And I have a couple friends from back then that are still friends of mine now. They actually are my band. Sean and John. Sean plays keys for me, and John's my DJ. And I went to middle school with Sean and high school with John, and so like, you know, those two people really always understood me, and my other friends did too, but they would always just kind of be like, that's tight, like you're doing that, but it wasn't ever like, whoa, like you're killing it, like da da da. And so I just make records with the people that understood, and everybody else I was just friends with, you know.
Yeah. Do you think your parents understood from the beginning? Like,
yeah, I think my parents always had a pretty good idea that I was going to do something super creative. We just didn't know what capacity that was going to be in yet.
Yeah.
Originally I wanted to be like more of a manager, and then I went to college and I was going to be a lawyer, but in entertainment, like a music lawyer.
Yeah.
And then
what about law did you like back then?
Honestly, I think a lot of the time kids like try to gravitate towards professions that their parents either did or wanted to do. And so honestly, I just think that like my godmother is a talent manager. My dad wanted to be a lawyer and almost finished law school but didn't. So I think that's probably where it was coming from. I didn't really necessarily have any passion for it. I just knew it was a career and it would lead to like a stable life.
Yeah.
But then what's cool is that like I didn't like choose to make music. It kind of like found me accidentally, and so worked out.
Yeah. And your dad bought you like, was it turntables when you were 13?
Yeah, when I was really young, he grabbed me some turntables, and that was like kind of my induction to DJing, because his whole thing was, if you learn how to do this and you get good at it, then you'll always have like a candy store job, he calls it. So, like something you can fall back on, which like, yeah, you know, it is good that I know how to do that, and now it's actually really great because I can do after parties and stuff for fun with my friends.
Was the turntable something that you requested for? Like you were already like looking more and more into the whole DJ
Honestly,
aspect?
I don't even think I asked for it. I think it was like something I mentioned and he just heard it. Wow. And he was always trying to like encourage me to be more creative and to do more stuff like that. So I think he just got it for me. And I remember being kind of like, whoa, like that's surprising. And then I plugged it into the speaker system in the living room through RCA cables and was like DJing by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And just like mixing songs and figuring out how to do it. And I picked it up real quick.
And you did a lot of, was it house parties?
Yeah, initially I did a bunch of house parties and stuff, and just like high school dances and stuff. And then I started making my own little like beats on the turntable, like making loops and stuff. Then I started using Logic and recording friends, and then that's kind of how I got going.
Were you in some sort of like group, like an indie group?
Yeah, Sean actually, who's in my band, and I had a band together that was super important to me, like learning how to use Logic and all that stuff.
What made you decide to go from the whole band phase to like more just like a solo artist?
I think, Sean was in school at the time. He was in college. And so I think it was just like there were these huge gaps of time where we would both just worry about school. And I wanted to just start making my own stuff. So I just I started doing that while he was out of town. And then I started posting covers, and then they went really well. So I just kept doing it.
Yeah. And at one point you wanted to do like graphic design, right?
Yep, that was a thing too. I always loved architecture and graphic design. And I did a little bit of like website development for people and stuff like that. Not like coding or anything like that, but just light stuff, because I just like the way colors look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went to USC.
I did, yeah.
What did you study?
I studied music industry at USC, okay. So that was a good like catapult for anything in general music that I wanted to do. I actually went to community college at Santa Monica for a year, and then I transferred to USC.
Yeah.
Because they didn't take me right out of high school. So I did that, and I got in, and it was wonderful. I look back on that super fondly, because what I love about school, beyond the education and all that, is that it gives you the time, because life becomes so structured, it gives you the time to like really be like, oh, this is how my life's structured. Okay, what am I going to do with my downtime? So in my downtime, I started making tunes, and I don't think if my days had been as structured as they were, I would have felt like, oh wow, I really need to express myself in some other way besides like doing these homework assignments.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing college did for me, is like force me to see when I had free time.
Yeah. Was college something that you wanted to do, or did your parents kind of want you to get a degree?
I think my parents definitely wanted me to get a degree, but I never like felt that pressure from them. So growing up, my parents were always like putting me in schools that would benefit me that way, or having me do sports. If I like suggesting I did sports or whatever, I did the golf team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you still really like golf?
Yeah, I'm a golfer.
Wow.
I just was in Nashville for a couple weeks, and I was doing a bunch of driving range.
Damn.
Yeah, it was really fun. I love golfing. I've just gotten back into it recently with my friend Denham. He took me out for a round, and I was like, man, I really love this. But yeah, so I do that stuff. But anyway, so with high school, my parents were always trying to position me to go to a good school if I wanted to. And then I didn't end up getting in anyway, and I had to go to community college for a year. But I got a 4.0 at SMC, and then I transferred, so they kind of forget about your GPA and stuff when you reapply from a community college. So,
do you think your degree was super beneficial, like looking back on where you're now?
I would say so. I think that it definitely gave me the like early understanding of the way contracts work, and
that's true.
Like manager-client relationships, and like how to develop a team. Because like after Hate You Love You kind of popped off crazy, I had to like assemble a team really quickly. So I literally hired my agent and my lawyer the same day, and but I knew what to do. It wasn't like I was just like, whoa, like I don't know what to do. So I would say college did that for me, and then also I just refer to things like deal points and the way things go, and it gives me a good understanding, like when I was doing a record deal, when I was signing a co-thing with my label in Atlantic, to understand how things are supposed to go in that regard. And yeah, so I think it did a bunch of great stuff for me.
Yeah.
It also just taught me how to like socialize better. I didn't like go to parties or anything like that, but I had to like pretend I did. Because USC is such a social school.
Right, yeah, it's like it's a Greek life right there.
Yeah, so like I had to like I felt the need to like establish some kind of like social group, and those people are actually still my really good friends, and I talk to them from time to time, and it's awesome. The
breakup that you had, kind of you channeled a lot of like creativity from it. Was that something that like just clicked to you, like, okay, I'm just gonna share all of this that I'm going through? Yeah, I think it just felt like something that it needed to happen. It was cathartic. All my friends were tired of hearing about it. Nobody was telling me anything different from one to another, except like, you'll get over it, like give it time. And I was like, well, I want to make something that
people can refer to feel better about whatever they're going through if they ever go through something like this. So that's what I had the idea to do the 3 EPs from.
Yeah.
And it was super awesome, but it was also kind of like, by the last one, I started to be like, man, like, I moved on, I guess, quicker than I thought I would because of all the stuff I was making and all the support I was getting from people online. So it was kind of this interesting thing. By the time Hate You Love You popped out, I was kind of like, I don't know if I really even like want people to think I'm so sad, because I'm not necessarily a super sad dude.
Do you ever think that because you put out those songs so early on that every time you would have to perform it now, you like remember those memories? Is it ever difficult for you?
You know what it is I think after a certain point, songs, the day I put a song out, it's not my song anymore. It's whoever's song it is that listens to it and identifies with it. It becomes their song. And I've just been the catalyst for like creating that thing. Because at the end of the day, all I want to do is like let people know they're not alone in whatever they're feeling and help people feel better. And if people listen to my things and they feel better because of it, then that's all I want. So I don't really like delve too much emotion into them anymore, because I know when people come to shows or I have to talk about the songs or whatever, it means something to people that love those songs to hear how I come from on it. So like, you know, I have this very like biographical way of discussing it, because I've kind of removed my own personal emotion from it, because I want other people to be able to apply their emotion to it. Yeah. And not really like apply how I feel to things. I want them to say like, oh, like that's what this is all about. Like, this is the new stuff, and it's like, this is how I feel. How do you feel? You know, because I feel like people don't ask that enough. Yeah. So, yeah.
And with that, like, the Nash branding, I feel like is like super strong. Was that something that clicked to you from the onset when you first started putting out? Like, having even like the font, I feel like there's a Nash font, there's a Nash color.
There is,
it's like it's super cohesive, like from the onset.
Thanks. So basically, I grew up underneath g-eazy's world. Yeah. And I'm a big g-eazy fan, and he's like kind of like always been a big brother to me, and his managers are really great to me, and I DJ'd a bunch of one of his managers' parties coming up, Jamil, and so I think I always really respected how like locked to brand he is at any stage he's at. And so I think that when I was like, oh, I'm going to start making tunes, it was just kind of a given that I needed to be really locked to a brand. And so there was no other option to me. I wasn't going to be sporadic, or like the art couldn't look different from one to the next. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be this way. And I'm also very controlling and specific about things like that. So basically I met my friend Max, who's here with me today, and Max Engels, and he kind of helped me like coordinate that, and he keeps my creative brain organized. And he makes all the art, and like we both take disposable pictures, and then I send mine to him and he has his. So like from super lit to all of them, like we find a disposable, he puts the font in it, and that's it. Yeah. Did you have some like influences for your branding earlier on, like even colors or certain artists or the font? My favorite album cover ever is definitely the Prince Purple Rain one with the photo in the middle and the flowers down the side. Mm-hmm. And I think also like I just draw inspiration from the things and the feelings the songs are about. So like Disposable is a song about a day that I went and did this thing, and so the picture of the art is from that day, but the font's the same, and you know what I mean? Like, it's all, I kind of just try and like cue in on that because you only really have a couple opportunities to present an emotion with the song to people before they apply their own, and before I allow them to do that. Yeah. And I think art and then the song and the lyrics and how it's produced, I guess, are kind of like the three ways that you can do that. So the art is super important to me, so I always try and like hone the colors in or make the vibe feel right or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever feel like there are disadvantages to such a strong branding? Like, what if you want to deviate in the future? I've thought about shaving my head a lot lately. And I think the only thing that's stopping me from doing that is the logo that I have on the back of the shirt. Yeah. That's so funny. So that's like the only time I've ever felt that way. Otherwise, I'm just thankful for it, because like it's really easy for people to understand. Like, I don't like to have a confusing brand, because like I want people to get past that really quickly and be like, cool, but what's the music sound like? Versus getting lost in like my Instagram. You know what I mean? So like I just kind of make it very straightforward. Everything's consistent, and then people can enjoy the tunes and apply their own meaning to them and feel better.
And for like Home, I really love how you did like the whole like handwritten letter. Just I don't know, just super raw, and I love it so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
that was we did that for a bit, and yeah, I just try and be as honest as possible. Well, I'm always super honest. I'm always 100% honest, but like honest as possible, transparent with people that I don't necessarily see every day. So like people that follow me online or whatever, I do my best to keep them updated with everything. But sometimes I do letters like that because I feel like I haven't been doing enough of that. So you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like a bunch of tweets, you know, because you only have 140 characters to kind of communicate how you feel. So. And
about that whole song, like when your dad approached you about the home, what kind of like went on in your head?
I was just I had never had like a sense of instability really, or like anything. There was always somewhere where I could go and lay my head at night and feel comfortable. So when that started to be a thing, I was like, man, like I really need to get going. I need to like start doing my own stuff. I need to start making my own tunes. I need to start being my own dude. And so that's when I started doing my stuff, and because I just really needed to turn the switch on. And then like right away, Hate You, Love You happened. It was really crazy. It was like the universe just made it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely what I thought right away. I was like, dang, like I really need to get rolling here, because nobody's gonna do it for me.
Yeah, and your parents were about to move to a different state, right?
Yep. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But you know, and we may still move or whatever. Like things change and whatever, but. We're super happy and calm, and what I'm thankful for is we don't have to make any decisions in a rushed manner. We can do them because we want to and because they make us happy, and not because we feel like we have to financially.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful, and I'm thankful for everybody that listens to the stuff for that.
And from the onset, kind of your family like helped you with a lot of your stuff, like your mom was shipping, your sister with like social media and stuff. Yeah. What clicked in your head too that you wanted to involve them so much in your life with music?
Well, like, my whole thing always is, like, the more people I work with that I love, the more people feel, like, fulfilled by the end goal. So, like, involving them was just kind of like, yo, if we really, like, do this together, we can really, like, make something cool happen. And then, you know, as I've gone on, I've developed a team, but now even Rosabeales, my girlfriend, is my manager.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always try and, like, keep it tight-knit and make people feel valued and appreciated the best I can. And, yeah, and just like make everybody I love a part of what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there ever like a struggle of like doing, I guess, business with people so close to your heart, like with like miscommunication?
Yeah,
or, like,
100%. It's tough sometimes, but I think that all just comes down to communication, which is exactly what you said. It's like, you know, miscommunication can only be resolved by communication. So it's just about talking and kind of explaining where you're coming from and just doing your best to keep it cool.
And when did it click to you to start your own like record label?
Actually, that comes back to G too. So g-eazy, when I was first making beats and stuff, he actually heard that I was doing it through a really funny way. I made a song with a girl named Quiñ, who's extremely talented, and she had that bounce and happened to be in the studio with him the next day and played him the song. And he was like, man, I love this song. I really want to be a part of this song. And she was like, cool, like, for show. And then saw him the next day, and he's like, yo, who made this? And she was like, this dude, G-Nash. And and he was like, Nash, like, my little homie Nash, like, tripped out, according to Quiñ. And so he called me and was like, yo, like, that shit is incredible. And he never called me on the phone, so I felt like, super honored. Because, like, because he's, like, I always have respected him so much. And so basically I started playing him stuff. I went over to his house and was like, these are some of the things I'm making, because I had no idea what I was doing. I was just playing chords, and I had all these feelings. And he was like, man, these chords are so happy sad. So when it was time to like make a label, I saw that little colon parentheses colon, and I was like, man, that really expresses how I feel. Like, so I was like, I guess that's like what the music is. So then I just called everything happy sad on the genre on SoundCloud. And then when I was starting to do label stuff, or when I was starting to submit songs, I just put that as the copyright name, because that's all I knew to put there. I was like, what am I going to put? Like, Garrett Nash. Like, so I started putting that there, and then I made my label that when I did a co-venture with Atlantic. And that's just basically, I think everything's kind of on a scale of happy to sad, and you can kind of bucket all emotions into that, and that actually helps me kind of categorize how I feel on a day-to-day basis. So yeah.
Would you say you've always had some form of like anxiety? Because I read from interviews or like tweets.
Yeah, I would say so, but I think in years more recent, it's definitely like shown its face more than ever, just because of all the pressure that I feel like I have on me. So I try not to think about the pressure, and I kind of just try to think about like the positives that come from the pressure. And I try to put myself a couple months down the line. So like if I'm ever stressed about anything, I always just try and put myself in the future and say like, wow, like everything worked out fine. Like I'm so glad it did. I'm so glad I made the right decision. And then I go back to current and I just go from there.
Yeah. And then you also started like yoga and meditation, right?
Yep.
How did you, like, what made you start to do that?
I took a class on it in college, actually. My last semester at USC, I did yoga, and I also took science of happiness, and I think those two things really correlated well together. Yeah. And then the Beatles class at the same time, and English too, which was like an advanced writing course. So I did them all the same semester, and I think it really helped me hone in what I was going to do with my stuff. And also meditation-wise, like it's really nice to be able to zone out and do some mindfulness and relax.
So how did you actually meet Rosa?
Just through mutual friends, actually. Yeah, just through mutual friends and stuff. We've always kind of known each other, but yeah, if you like to believe in soul stuff, I think that sometimes I'm not super sold on the idea of like a soulmate necessarily, because I don't know if that's like a thing, but I like this new idea I just heard recently that like souls are essentially like passed down, and so when you're an old soul, you've had like more life experience. Yeah. So I like to think at some point in the past we met because of that, but now we're together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it always click for you from the beginning to like put your like relationships quite in the public eye for like social media?
Well, I've never really had a girlfriend until Rosa, so no. I never really thought much of it. It was just like, if I'm going to be honest and transparent about everything, then I may as well. She's just as much part of my life as my dog or my cat or my parents or my sister or my music or whatever. So, yeah, she's just a part of it.
Yeah. How did she grow to such a big part of your life and like manage you and everything?
She's just kind of my everything. She's just kind of very, very good at everything she does, and she doesn't really like mess up mistake-wise.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, she's very, very specific about everything she does.
Yeah.
So it just kind of was natural, I guess. Yeah.
Did you ever have any like labels telling you like you shouldn't put that much of your like relationships online, or did it never? Like...
You know what's funny? No, not me personally. Just because when I started working with like music industry realm on my stuff, I had already kind of done a lot of the. You know, obviously, like, there was a lot of radio and stuff that I didn't have anything to do with initially, and it happened after I did a deal. But I think initially, just because I came in and I was so, like, here's what I want to do, these are my goals, this is how I feel, da-da-da, nobody ever really tried to, like, convince me otherwise. And it's gone great.
Yeah. What would you say have been your biggest struggles so far?
I would say just like getting over the idea of pressure was a lot for me out the gate. Just like, oh man, like I have all this pressure on me. I always get overwhelmed by that. But now I don't really get overwhelmed by that anymore, just because like pressure and all that stuff I've realized recently is kind of, there's not a lot of point to it, because like worrying and stressing and all those things, nothing's getting done, nothing's happening. You're just in a funk about it. And like I think worrying and stressing and all those things are just like something our reptilian brain's doing, because we've known how to do that since fight or flight reaction, and and we don't need that necessarily anymore. I think that we're way more advanced than that now in all other ways, so why not in that one? So I just try not to allow the pressure to get to me or the worrying or anything like that, and it's been going pretty good lately.
Last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
Helping people feel better. That's all. Yeah, I just want people to be able to forever be like, yeah, that's what I want to be remembered for, helping people feel better, because I think that what a positive legacy to leave, you know? Like, regardless of how I do in a day or how I feel, or if I write my next big song or whatever it is, I'll always know that there's stuff out in the world that on a day-to-day basis is helping people feel better. Yeah. And that's like extremely gratifying for me. So that's all I care about.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Peace.